House. So yeah, as you might expect, with baby stuff happening, there's not as much time to get chores done around the house and that kind of thing. Like we wanted to clean up a little bit, do some vacuuming, some organizing, but before guests arrived, of course that's always harder to do than you think. You know, it's one thing to think about the fact that, like, you know, as me, as a person, don't have enough time. That's not a sentence at all. Me as a person don't have enough time to get as many things done as I normally would around the house. But I also hadn't really thought about the fact that because in situations like now where Liz is like super, super busy with the baby, you know, every minute, that I now kind of have to pick up and do some of the things that normally I count on her doing. You know, she's usually fantastic about things like making grocery lists and going grocery shopping, and so I did like a huge grocery run today and bought, you know, like 3 weeks of food, I think, something like that. And yeah, you know, I'm going through trying to figure out like all the coupons and all this stuff that she's much better at than I am. But yeah, so I had that, and so it was like this kind of thing where as of like, you know, 4 p.m. I had all these things I wanted to get done tonight, but then, you know, I went down to the grocery store, had to do all that stuff. I came back, I wanted to do some stuff with moving things around, organizing. I wanted to cut all the peaches, I wanted to make dinner. So by, you know, before I know it, it's already like 10 p.m. and it's like, oh, I want to go to bed, and I still have to make wax. And then, you know, I want to hold the baby and spend some time with the baby and give Liz a chance to, you know, go shower and brush her teeth and that kind of stuff. And so that's all a really interesting balance. And Liz put it a really good way, too, which I hadn't thought about, where it's like she had heard that, you know, it's about 3 hours between feeding, which, by the way, hasn't been true at all for us. 3 hours between feedings hasn't been true so far, and the baby sleeping 20 hours a day hasn't been true. Grub baby my butt. But she was like, you know, if there's 3 hours between feeding, then, oh, you know, there's so much you can do in 3 hours. And of course, you know, the thing that we both weren't thinking of there is the fact that, you know, it's 3 hours between each feeding, but it's not really between. It's like, you know, there's a feeding at 3 and a feeding at 6. And that first feeding might take an hour and a half, all things considered, maybe longer with other stuff going on. And so even if you do have the luxury of, you know, 3 hour feeding benchmarks, then, you know, you're maybe lucky to have 40 minutes to do something in there, and it might not even be a continuous chunk of time. Like, he would not sleep today. He didn't sleep last night. And so what can you do but just, you know, try to entertain him, stay up with him. And huge props to Liz, because she definitely has been doing the majority of that kind of stuff right now. Because, you know, especially at night, it's like, well, does he want to feed or does he just want to be held? Is he just being fussy? It's all a learning process. So going back into the baby stuff a little bit, but other house stuff. I'm still trying to sell the Mazda. Our cat Zoe got spayed on Wednesday. I took her to the vet, and you know, I didn't think about the fact that this is so much more of an invasive surgery for females than it is for males. I almost said for cats as it is for dogs. Not true. But yeah, you know, she had to have her ovaries removed, her fallopian tube, her uterus. And so, God, I mean, she's already a really small cat. She's right here. So she's already a really small cat, and now she's like, you know, already much, much tinier than she was before. And she's taking it like a champ. She's doing really well. We kept her contained in our bathroom for, you know, the first 5 days. And I literally just moved her to my office here for, you know, just to see how she does with an hour. I think I'm going to have to put her back in the bathroom because she's being very active. And right now she's swinging around the chair, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And I feel bad that she's bored and probably lonely, but she's not supposed to be this active when she's healing, because it's a huge, you know, bit of healing going on. We don't want her to rip her stitches, and of course she has a tendency to want to jump up really high on things. So I don't know, maybe I can give her something to scratch in the bathroom. But yeah, we're trying to contain her, but yeah, it's a tough process healing. We had like pain medication I had to give her. On the bright side, she's eating a lot more than I've ever seen her eat, so it's good she has an appetite. And she's been very, very affectionate. It's like this weird, I feel like this weird captor, Florence Nightingale syndrome kind of thing going on, where it's like I'm the one who took her to the vet and you know, was responsible for this horrible thing happening to her, and then I brought her home, and then like I put her in the bathroom and I kept her locked up in the bathroom. But then of course, because Liz is so busy with the baby, I'm the one having the majority of time with her, spending time with her, and she's being very affectionate and very friendly whenever she sees me. And it's, you know, it's this weird balance where it's like, well, I'm sure she recognizes that I'm the one keeping her in there and preventing her from leaving the bathroom, but also I'm the only source of interaction or you know, comfort or touch that she's getting. So, you know, I feel like we're kind of forming a new relationship. Zoe, again, was our newest cat. We actually got her in Brooklyn like a couple months on the street. We have 2 street cats. She's another one of our Brooklyn street cats that we got like just a few months before moving up here into the woods. And yeah, that's been interesting. Another thing that happened cat-related earlier in the week was I accidentally let Nami, our other street cat, escape. This was really kind of scary. I had Dulce and Nami in the garden. It's a contained area. Usually they're fine. Seemed like they were just hanging out. And I was like, I should go get a bunch of peaches. Like, these are the peaches that tonight I spent, a bunch of time chopping up and freezing and all that. And so I went down and got the peaches and grabbed a bunch and was like, I was kind of looking up there. I'm like, they're fine. So I got a few more. And then lo and behold, I go back to the garden, been probably about 10 minutes, and Dulce's there waiting at the gate, like, I'm ready to go in now. And I'm like, oh, great. And then I couldn't see Nami, and oh my god, like, she'd escaped before, but it really didn't seem like there was room. There's so much brush because the garden is overgrown right now. And although we have great tomatoes, by the way, fantastic tomatoes, good string beans, but she escaped. You can probably tell by the fact that I'm being distracted by things right now, that things are okay. Again, we have amazing neighbors. I gave a quick call to our neighbors Maria and Mike and Maria and her daughter Johanna, who made us these amazing cookies for the baby, which was wonderful. She came outside and they were looking around and helping us look for Nami and trying to figure out where she might have gone. Normally she'd go under the porch, but then we've always caught her under the porch, but it was on her way to go somewhere else. And so we're looking all around, and Liz is looking around at the baby, and I'm feeling bad because he's probably getting too much sun and I don't want him to burn. And then we're going up on the rock wall and we're shouting her name, and then Johanna and Maria, I think it was Johanna actually, spot Nami like tanning on a rock. I was looking everywhere in the shade, and she's in this like one spot of sunlight just a little bit down the road. So thank God, I kind of approach her with wet food, and she actually charges back toward the house. Like, it's good she went back toward familiar territory. And then this almost reminded me of like a dog kind of thing. She ran up the porch and then kind of stood by the door like, I wanted to go in the whole time. What's wrong? So thank God she's okay. I need to be super, super careful with these kinds of things, especially with a baby. Like, I am a naturally distractible person. It's very easy for me to be focused on one thing and then be like, there's something else I need to do, or look at that, I didn't ever think of that before, whatever. And so, especially with the baby, and especially with so much going on, like, I need to be able to work on prioritizing things and knowing, like, what's super important. So in that example, like, yeah, there's peaches you need to go pick. Bring the cats in first, because that part of me that's like, I just want them to have as much fun as possible. No, because that's not worth it if you lose them or if a hawk eats them or something. We do have some pretty big hawks. So, I got to be really careful about being careful and safe, and it really is that better safe than sorry adage. So, yeah, cats. Other house stuff. It was this weird thing. We have this wonderful 3-day weekend thing going on. Again, my office is wonderful, and this is in many ways the perfect time to have a baby because of these extra days off. And what's great about a 3-day weekend is not only does it make the work week shorter, it also makes the weekend longer. It's kind of the opposite of the thing I was talking about 3-hour feedings and the time you lose. So, by like Saturday, it's like, oh my God, it feels like Sunday. What do we do with all this extra time? And then because on the Saturday, I'm not stressing about like all the other stuff I need to do before work the next day. It's like, we have a little bit of time. So it's like, what can I do? And so, I was like, I'm going to mow the lawn. And so I took our electric mower and I mowed a bunch of the lawn on both sides and did it with 2 batteries on a full charge. I don't know if I ever mentioned that I had ordered a used battery because it was a lot cheaper, and I'm like, I'm sure it'll be fine. And it couldn't like even, hold enough of a charge to mow anything. So I returned that, got a second new battery, and that's perfect. Like those 2 batteries, I can have one charging while the other one's going, whatever, but it's just enough to like mow both sides of the house. So that was really great. Other house stuff, I mentioned cleaning, baby stuff, organizing stuff. Ordered some things online. Yeah, house stuff. It's house stuff. It's an interesting struggle to figure out what things, and this goes back to the safety thing, what things I can comfortably do while holding the baby in one arm. For example, the other day I tried to go empty our compost. We have a big spinny compost bin outside, so I went to try to empty the compost in there while still holding the baby. Nope, I guess it's good I tried it, but that's not a one-handed operation. And again, be careful. Better safe than sorry. That's the lesson of this week, I guess. All right, kids, be safe and don't be sorry.